How many handicapping groups can say they were around before Twitter, MySpace, AOL, Sunday morning cable infomercials, beepers, and 1-800 numbers? In the 65th year of operation, the Gold Sheet team is better than ever. Including the NFL preseason, Gold Sheet's LTS selections are 21-6 to start the 2022 football season, including an 11-1 mark this past weekend. If you're ready to play side by side with the country's longest running sports betting newsletter, act now to take $200 off the Gold Sheets NFL and college football combo. No coupon is needed to redeem this offer. Just go to the Gold Sheets homepage at WagerTalk or Sports Memo and lock in one of the most respected handicapping groups of all time for one of the lowest prices ever offered. Get every top-rated college football play between now and the national championship game at regular price, and we'll add in their full season of NFL picks through the Super Bowl for just $100 more.
Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Carmine Bianco. This is Stoppage Time, the EPL edition. EPL returns. It was all games were canceled last week. Still 3 games that have been canceled this week. The Brighton Crystal Palace, Man United, Leeds, and then the big one for the weekend was also canceled, which is the Chelsea Liverpool. But we still have games to discuss. We are going to do the Aston Villa Southampton game that goes on Friday. That is tomorrow if you're viewing live right now. Tottenham and Leicester City on Saturday, and then the Sunday fixture as Brentford host Arsenal. We're going to cover one from each day, so you've got something to bet on. With me from WagerTalk.com, it's Nick Borrman and Kevin Dolan, and from Sports Memo, Pavlos, Laguretos. Guys, let me say this. I usually get really excited about the Thursday shows because they follow the Champions League, and last week, a very good match day 1 in Champions League. Match day 2, not so good. I won't even say not so good. They were downright terrible. So I apologize to you guys out there that might have followed along. We will get it back. We always do a good run followed by a not so great run, but it's been a positive season thus far. Guys, some surprises this week, but Nick, you had a very good day yesterday. Congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. 4-0 Champions League sweep and added a MLS winner on Atlanta at the night. And Benfica came through as a 5% play. Sorry for that, Carm. Faded your old Juve. But overall, yeah, it was very, very, very good. 11-3 so far Champions League in the first 2 weeks. So happy with how that started. Hopefully we can carry that over into the weekend.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a play on Juve. I had some pizza money on them, but I woke up this morning excited for the most part because I thought for sure there would be news on BBC or on some of the Italian sites I follow of Massimo Allegri being canned, but that didn't happen. I'm hopeful that within the next month he gets fired and replaced. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ship Kevin some of our Canadian whiskey because I think I told him that Allegri would be gone soon. Kev, you're looking forward to that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I'll have to try out some of this Canadian whiskey. You'll be doing well to top Irish whiskey, though, Cam. I won't lie. We make the best stuff on the planet. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly when Allegri gets the boot because I agree with you. I don't see him lasting too much longer if he keeps pumping out these kind of results.
Yeah, there's too much quality on that team, and I know that even the most stout fans, and I've got a couple groups that I'm in, WhatsApp groups, and they're like, well, just wait until we get Pogba back in 2 months. Wait until we get Federico Chiesa back in after the World Cup. You know, those wait till usually mean that you're 10th in the league and you're out of Champions League, and I think both could be very possible with this team. So the wait tills don't always work. Get a new manager in there. With that said, final word, Pavlos, any surprises for you last couple of days?
Porto. To be honest, I didn't expect them to be destroyed by Breeze. They lost by 4-0. I think that was one of the biggest surprises I saw over the last couple of days. Maybe Leverkusen was kind of a surprise to beat Atletico Madrid, but Leverkusen, they've been struggling all season. They were bound for a wake-up call. Let's hope they can continue this streak. Maybe Chelsea against Salzburg, the 1-1 draw yesterday. I actually had a small stake bet on Chelsea to win and both teams to score. Really close to hitting that, but I went 3-1 in the Champions League last night. I had Messi to give out an assist, De Bruyne to give out an assist, and both teams to score in the Juve match. So I'm more than happy. I'm actually more than happy for the Europa League tonight. I have a lot of big plays loaded, and but let's talk some EPL because I really missed that, guys. I missed the EPL.
All right. And with that said, if you watched the shows, we're in agreements on some picks where we disagree on a few. And one of the ones that stood out, Kev and Nick, is, we both looked at that, I think at that Liverpool game as far as the total staying under 3.5. And Kev, I think you liked both teams to score and over 2.5 in that game. And we mentioned the perfect result would be Liverpool 2-1 at plus 800 as an exact score. And that was the final score. So that got there. So if nothing else, we did give out a little bit of information, some tidbits of information that got you some money. So on a downer of a week, at least on my end, that was a little bit of good news for all of you that faithfully tune in each and every episode of Stoppage Time, and we really, really appreciate it. So let's get to Friday's game, Aston Villa and Southampton. We'll have a look at the numbers on this one. Villa are plus 105. The draw is plus 260. Southampton is plus 250. Nick, before I throw to you, I'm going to talk about this. It's a Friday fixture, and both sides have been off for, I think it is 15 days now, or we're getting close to it, 14 or 15 days since they last played, obviously with the passing of the Queen. Neither one of these has had a decent run of form. You look at the teams that they've played. Southampton really haven't had that tough a schedule with the exception of maybe the Chelsea game. Villa, not a great start for them either, but they have been good at home. A 2-1 win over Everton. A loss to West Ham in a game in which they outplayed West Ham. They were hard luck losers in that one. Probably should have gotten at least a point in that one. And then they welcomed the juggernaut that is Man City last time out, a 1-1 draw in which they essentially parked the bus and found a way of keeping City off the score sheet more than once. So with that said, I'm going to lean to the home side here. Begrudgingly, it's not going to make my card, but if you put a gun to my head, I'm going to take Aston Villa and I'm going to take the plus 105, but I can't fault anybody if you want to go and take Southampton plus the half a goal. Laying a half a goal is tough with these two teams with the form they have right now, but I'm going off of home form and Aston Villa plus 105. What are your thoughts, Nick?
It's funny you say that, these two teams and any of the Premier League teams that aren't playing in Europe, European football right now, have 2 weeks off. So much has been said about this year's schedule and how crammed it's going to be with the World Cup. And now you get 2 weeks off, they're going to play a game, and they get another 2 weeks off for the international break. So not something any of these teams expected for sure. But listen, if this was match day 1 or 2, I'd be, and these are the prices we're looking at, I'd be 100% in agreement because I expected a lot more from Villa. I would be surprised if any of us didn't expect more from Villa at the beginning of the season, and we probably all rated them higher than Southampton. But I mean, they have just not looked good at all. They've not played well. I mean, it's just not a team I want to get behind at this point. You look at a lot of the numbers behind the results, and everything's still pointing to Southampton as well. I mean, Villa are generating just 0.81 expected goals per game, second fewest in the league, allowing 1.66. Southampton averaging 1.18 and allowing 1.3. So much big difference there on the differential between those teams. Villa also generating the second fewest shots in the league, so it's a volume thing as well, and third fewest shots on goal. Southampton's numbers aren't that much better, but their defense has been solid, allowing just the sixth fewest shots per game. And a lot of times when you look at the numbers this early in the season, you got to take in a factor, strength of schedule, because as the season progresses and everybody plays each other, well, then it's fair. But at this point, all right, well, those numbers don't mean anything if one team's played, all the top six sides. But it's actually Strength of schedule probably favors Southampton too. They've played 3 of the top 6. They've played Tottenham, United, and Chelsea, and Villa have only played Arsenal and City, which was each of their last 2 games. And Carm, you mentioned the City result 1-1, which was impressive. I was actually on Aston Villa in that game, mostly because it was a fade of City in a look-ahead spot to their opening Champions League game, so I don't put a lot into that result. So I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with Villa. I haven't seen enough from them. Southampton have played a little bit tougher schedule, have better numbers all the way through, can certainly come in here and get a result. So I like the double chance on Southampton plus a half a goal. We cash if they win or if it draws. So I think for me, that's the way I want to play it.
All right, Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com. And Nick, yeah, I can't fault you. It is one of those games where, like I said, it's not going to be on my card. But if I have opinion, it's a small one. But laying half a goal with 2 teams, eventually these teams will play better. And I'm going to go to Pavlos next on one. Eventually, they're going to start to get some W's, on that sheet. But until they do so, it's just so tough taking either one of these unless you're getting substantial goals or you're getting +1 or +1.5 in some spots. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I was one of the people who rated Aston Villa really high at the start of the season. The truth is that they haven't been that great so far, and there's a good reason for that. Diego Carlos, their marquee signing, the center back was ruled out for the entire season. In just the first or the second match of the season, he suffered a really bad injury and he's out. So this Villa side really put a lot of their money on getting a center back that's really, really proven. He came from Sevilla, who were a defensive juggernaut for many, many years. Now Mati Kass is also injured, so his backup is Ashley Young, who we've known him in the EPL, but he's not so good defensively. Yes, he can go up down the flank and maybe create a couple of dangerous opportunities, but he's not that solid defensively. And we've seen that defensive weakness from this Aston Villa in pretty much every match of the season. They have yet to keep a clean sheet, but their offense is not that bad in the sense that they've only remained scoreless against West Ham and Bournemouth, actually, which was a match that I was on Villa in the opener. But anyway, I think they're going to see more from Coutinho, who's been pretty much invisible this season for them. A couple of low-tier injuries have kept him out of the starting lineup. Now I think it's time for him to get back in the starting lineup and start creating more creating plays for the Aston Villa attackers. Now, Southampton, they didn't score against Wolves, but Wolves, they have a pretty solid defense, and they usually take matches very, very slowly. They don't really allow their opponents to make a lot of, to create a lot of chances. I wasn't surprised to see Southampton not scoring in their match against Wolves, but I do see them getting back on the score sheet today. The problem with Southampton is that they made a lot of changes in the roster. They brought in a lot of new players. They're using a lot of different formations, and they still haven't found the one that really suits them best. Now, they've been also alternating between not only formations, but also players who play in the formation. So until they can find the perfect chemistry, I can't really go near them. Yes, they've caused a couple of upsets. Mainly, they beat Chelsea. But I do think that this is a match where both teams get on the score sheet. I'm happy with both teams to score at -150. Yes, it's a low price, but you can use it as a parlay piece if you want. But I'm kind of afraid of a 1-1 draw, to be honest. The draw is at plus 250, 260 or something, which actually might be a good play here, but I like both teams to score. I think that's the safest way to play this. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I just want both teams to get on the score sheet.
I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. I love that, Pavlos. As long as your play wins, that is a good one. And yeah, that 1-1 draw is plus 650 if you're looking for an exact score price, Pavlos. So that's one you might want to plug in there as a pizza bet. Final word goes to the Irishman, Kevin Dolan. Kev, where are you going here?
I feel like I've got nothing else to say now because that's exactly my play for this game, the 1-1 correct score plus 650. So we may as well move on to the next game. Nick said a lot of points I agree with in terms of where this Aston Villa team are at for me. I wasn't impressed that much despite the result against Manchester City. You know, we kind of mentioned this in the Leicester preview last week before that game ended up getting cancelled. You know, and the crazy thing is they could have actually won that game if Coutinho's goal had a stud later on. But you know, over the course of the game as a whole, you know, Kyle Walker should have scored early on. Haaland had a couple of really good chances to increase that one goal. You know, Rodri near the end, Cancelo, I believe, had a great chance. So Aston Villa pretty lucky to escape. We mentioned as well just 0.28 total XG in that game. That was by far the lowest of any team in the EPL over match day 6. So, you know, for me, Villa, you know, when you're Villa, you can't just rely on the likes of Coutinho if that goal had stood, obviously, you know, Leon Bailey to score, you know, thunder strikes for you. Villa are going to need to find a way to start carving defences open, you know, creating more chances if they're going to survive this season. You know, scored just 2 goals all year from open play. That's the EPL's lowest tally. So I'm not high on this Aston Villa team at all. I don't see Steven Gerrard surviving this season. I think he will go at some point. As you know, again, Nick mentioned Villa stats this season. You know, 2nd lowest defensive XG, 7th lowest defensive XG as well. So they're not getting it done on either end. And look, if there's one thing you can say about Southampton, they're resilient. You know, they got results against Leeds, Leicester, Chelsea. They've only lost twice over the last 5 games as well. Both of those games against Manchester United and Wolves, they won the XG battle. So, you know, Ralph Hasenhüttl really has this team playing well. So I think they can come here and get a result tomorrow night. I like Southampton on the side. I lean under. Probably my favourite play, though, as you guys mentioned, is that 1-1 correct score plus 650. I think that's a big price. So, yeah, that's something that I'll be on for tomorrow.
All right, Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com. Kev, I apologize for taking that 1-1. I didn't see that it was part of your lean, or I wouldn't have mentioned it. But I just kind of fed off of what Pavlos was talking about, and of course Nick with the plus half goal wager. Guys, let's get on to our second game. This one goes on Saturday. Saturday's action. It is Tottenham and Leicester City. The odds on this one: Tottenham minus 223. That is the opener. The draw is at plus 333, and Leicester City a juicy plus 600 if you like them. I'm going to make this quick before I throw it right back at you, Kev. All I'm going to say is 2 goals from the 90th minute on in Sporting against Tottenham. Antonio Conte cannot be happy. His record in Champions League isn't the greatest either. I think through 26 or 36 games, he's like 12, 11, and 13. So it's not the greatest record, but a disappointing loss for them. And he had him back on the training ground when they were back in London. So, you know, he's not happy about this, but you know, they've been good thus far. That was their first loss of the season. They have played well. It's probably a get back into the win column spot for them against the Leicester side that haven't played well. 6 games, 5 losses, 1 draw. I thought they played a little bit better last time out. They showed a little bit of life with 2 men up front against Brighton, but that quickly turned into a 5-2 loss. You look at their schedule, it hasn't been a tough one, albeit with Man United, Chelsea, and Arsenal thus far in their schedule. Now they get Tottenham. It's going to get better, but it might get worse before it gets better. I'm going to lay the goal here with Tottenham. It might look like a square play, but until I see something out of this Leicester team, I'm just going to continue to fade them against very good teams. So give me Leicester myself a -1. Kev, where are you going?
Well, I mean, meetings have already started. The rumour mill's in full gear about Brendan Rodgers' future. The Leicester board have supposedly had a meeting, so he might, you know, have to come out all guns blazing there. Hope he gets a win because he's on borrowed time at the club. Obviously, you said disappointing result for Tottenham against Sporting. To give up 2 goals that late as well was a bit sloppy, so I can see why Conte wasn't too happy at the end of that game. But in terms of purely EPL form, you know, as you said, it's pretty simple. We've got one team here on Saturday who ranked top 5 in overall scoring offense, top 6 in overall offensive XG, facing a team in Leicester who, you know, have really struggled this year. You know, ranked 2nd from bottom in overall scoring defense, bottom 5 in overall defensive XG as well. So, you know, at least on paper, this looks like a bit of a slam dunk. But I still don't want to lay this number on Tottenham personally on Saturday. If you do, you'd probably want to do it now as this number is starting to creep up to that minus 1.25 at some of the sharper books. But yeah, as I say, I don't really want to lay more than a goal, especially myself, because as poor as Leicester are defensively, they can score, and often multiple times as well. So, when you're laying that big of a head start, I definitely don't want to do it against a team who can score, because it just multiplies your problems. Then Tottenham have to find 3 or 4 moving forward. So I'm looking towards goals in this one instead. I think both teams do find the back of the net in this one. Leicester have conceded in every single Premier League game this season. They've given up a whopping 3.67 goals away from home this year as well. So, it would be an absolutely massive shock if Tottenham failed to find the back of the net, at least once in this game. But, by the same token, Leicester have already scored in every road game they've played in this season, and multiple goals in 2 of those 3 road games as well. So I just don't see their defence being able to contain the other's offence in this one. In 6 halves of football, over the last 3 head-to-heads between these two, both teams have found the back of the net in 5 of those 6 halves. That's pretty incredible. So that also looks appealing here. Both teams to score in the first half is going off a plus 300. I like that. Another prop I like for this game is the Harry Kane to score anytime prop at minus 110. Not a huge price, obviously, but Harry absolutely loves facing these Foxes. He scored against this Leicester side 19 times over the course of his career so far. That's the most out of any team he's ever faced. So, you certainly wouldn't discount it from adding to that here. But, for the purposes of a single play here, straight bet, I'm going to take the both teams to score yes at minus 143, as I think we see both teams find the back of the net in this one on Saturday.
All right. Love it, Kev. Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you next. He talked about Leicester and allowing those goals on the road. I'm just going to throw this to you one time while we're talking about, because this helps Kevin's both teams to score prop as well too. 3-1 exact score for the Spurs, plus 1100. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, easily. I could see that happening, and I also see late goals in that match as well. Tottenham, they conceded a couple of late goals against Sporting. They scored a couple of late goals against Marseille in the match before that. They scored a late goal against Fulham. I think only in the match against West Ham, Tottenham didn't score a late goal. Pretty much all other matches, they played 8 matches so far in the season. In 7 of those, they found late goals. And Leicester, they've been bleeding goals left and right. Already, I think 16 conceded goals, yes. And 9 of those have come in the last third of the match, in the final 30 minutes. So I do see goals late in this match, but I do see goals anyway. Tottenham at home, they've won 4, all of the 4 matches so far in the season. They beat Marseille by 2-0, Fulham by 2-1, Wolves by 1-0, which is, it's a logical and an expected under, because Wolves, as I said before, they really try to, keep games very, very, very tight. And of course, they also beat Southampton by 4-1 in the opener. Well, Leicester, their defense is really horrible this season. It's not just the numbers; it's how they operate. Again, we keep saying it in every show that this defense is totally different than the one they had a couple of seasons ago. With Fofana and Soyuncu in the center backs. These players are now gone, and they're using Johnny Evans. In 2022, they're using Johnny Evans as a center back. And Wilfried Ndidi, who is not a center back, he's a holding midfielder. So we often see Leicester have run out of options. They use either Amartey or Ndidi, who are both midfielders. They use them as center backs. Justin is a liability. Thomas had a yellow card and an own goal in the 5-2 loss against Brighton. This defense is really, really horrible. They tried to, shock their offense when they benched Vardy in the previous match. Iheanacho and Daka, they were actually quite good. They both scored in the first half, but it's their defense that keeps bleeding goals. So how can you trust this Leicester side? Yes, maybe at some point they'll make one good match, they'll keep a clean sheet, and they'll get 1 point or 3 points. Who knows? But this isn't it. Tottenham, they have done excellent moves in the off-season. Perisic and Richarlison are really, really good players, and they've integrated themselves really spectacularly in this Tottenham system. So I do see them terrorizing this Leicester offense. However, I view Tottenham and Conte as a fairly defensive side. I know Conte really hates to concede goals. That's why he was so mad when they conceded a couple of goals against Sporting. My guess is that he'll try to safeguard the defense, and they can keep a clean sheet. But Leicester, sitting dead last in the league, they might be entangled in relegation scenarios really early in the season. They can't play defense, so their best bet is to try to do something through the offense, because most of the talent they have is in the offense. With Tillemans, with Maddison, with all those players, Taka, Vardy, and Giannacho. So they're going to try to attack, and I do see goals here. When you look at past matches, Tottenham, they beat Leicester last season in both matches, and they've won 4 of last 5. 9 of last 12 matches between the two sides had over 2.5 goals, and 8 of those had both teams to score as well. Tottenham, they won 4 of the last 5 as hosts, and they are 4-1 to the over 2.5 goals. Long story short, I like both teams to score and over 2.5 goals here at even money. But you can also take Tottenham money line and over 2.5 goals at -102 if you want.
All right. Like a Pavlos, I didn't write all those down, so you're going to have to send them to me after the show is over. Nick, I'm going to give you the final word on this game. And I want to mention something that Kevin said. He talked about like the board and Brendan Rodgers, and, he's got a short shelf life if they continue to lose. You look at it, and we see a lot of managerial changes come when a team has an easier upcoming schedule, but they have continued to lose. After this game, obviously, there is a break for Nations League, so there's a couple of weeks before these teams actually play again. But on Leicester's schedule, after this one is Bournemouth, then you've got Crystal Palace, then you've got Leeds and Wolves. A great time possibly to make that managerial change. You get a new manager in there with a couple of weeks to work with his squad and maybe change the atmosphere in that dressing room. Any thoughts on that? And of course, on this game?
Managerial changes can sometimes just be an excuse for either ownership or whoever's got control of the transactions for that team to blame, because Leicester, if I'm not mistaken, didn't do shit this offseason, and obviously they are really struggling to start the year. So let's blame Rodgers. Let's blame the manager to turn him over, get somebody new here, and nothing's going to change. Maybe there's a slight uptick in something on a short-term basis, but this team is not going to miraculously turn around and get better, without making some player changes. And maybe that is just rotating some guys out, and maybe that is the manager that can get creative with the rotations and whatnot. But I don't ultimately blame Brendan Rodgers here. They just didn't do anything in the offseason to better themselves. And listen. Pavlos and Kevin went over all the details you need to know about this game. I'm going to keep it very, very simple. I'll say on the side, there's no way you want to get behind Leicester. Their defense is ridiculously bad. 2.5 expected goals allowed on the road, 16 goals allowed in 6 matches. Only Bournemouth is worse, and of course they allowed 9 in one game. So Leicester is clearly, I'm going to give a pass to Bournemouth in that game. Once it gets out of control like that, it's like, well, whatever, who cares? 9 or 4 is no difference. So I think Leicester's got the worst defense right now in this league. So I am never going to get behind a team with that bad of a defense. Tottenham, -1. You got to pay a little bit on the juice, -130 or so. I think it's fine. You can go to -1.25, but if you can stay in that -130, -135 neighborhood on laying just a goal, protecting you a little bit and gets the push in case they only win by 1, I think that's the way to go. But Spurs for me here for sure.
All right, Nick Borrman. I like that play as well, too. And when I mentioned Leicester's upcoming schedule, I skipped over their first game when they come back from this Nations League break, which will be against Nottingham Forest at King Power Stadium. And just a note before we get into our final game on today's show and our best bet segment, there will be no shows next week, as there are no Champions League, Europa League, or games in Europe in domestic league play. It is the Nations League that takes over. So we are going to take a week off, regroup, and then come back the following week and cover some EPL, some Champions League, and Europa League with a couple shows the following week. All right, final game on today's card. This is a Sunday fixture, Brentford and Arsenal. Let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Brentford at home, +333. The draw is +275. Arsenal, a small favorite at -125. Pavlos, before I go to you on this one, this is another one of those ones about talking about teams and breaks. Arsenal's game that was supposed to be played today on Thursday at taping against PSV was postponed. So while they did play last week, 9 days off prior to this game being played on Sunday. It's 14 days off for Brentford since they last hit the pitch for a game. You know, when you look at this one, and I'm going to look at it from a totals point of view, and I'm going to give a quick thing is that when I'm looking at the total for this, if you like Arsenal in this game, you've got to play the under. The under's at 2.75. If you like Brentford, you take the over because Arsenal are going to get theirs. So with that said, I do like Arsenal to get the result here. The fact that they have played during that 14-day period that Brentford's been off helps this team. They obviously play very well defensively as well, too, as Arteta has them buying in to the system. And I'm going to lean under. So under 2.75 for me here. Pavlos, what do you got?
Well, Brentford, they're having a really strong start in the season, sitting 8th in the league with 2 wins, just 1 loss and 3 draws. They've scored in all 6 matches. They scored 2+ goals in 4 of those matches. However, they've kept just 1 clean sheet, and oddly enough, it was against Manchester United in that 4-0 thrashing. So this Brentford are really, really good without many flashy players in their squad, and they just recently were promoted to the EPL. I think they're doing a fine job this season, and mainly because of the of what their key striker Ivan Toney is doing. I mean, the guy had a hat trick I think it was in the first half, or it was in the first, in the first 60 minutes against Leeds, where they blasted them by 5-2. And this guy is on track to be called up to the English national team. He's a really, really solid player. He can play with, he has a nice header, even though he's not very tall. He has nice headers. He gets a lot of aerials. He can score. He can shoot. He can pass. He's a really, really nice player. And this Brentford side has taken a few players around him that can really facilitate his game. And they've been really, really effective. And Arsenal, yes, they made an impressive start in the season, but they did see their winning streak cut down by Manchester United in that 3-1 loss at Manchester, where they probably didn't deserve to lose by that much, but they were probably they fell victims to the wake up call of Marcus Rashford, who dished out an assist and then scored 2 goals while he was invisible, in the first matches of the season. And Arsenal are doing a fine job so far, but their defense is not something that I could trust. Yes, they kept a clean sheet against Bournemouth and against Palace, which, by the way, they were both on the road. But they couldn't stop even Zurich from scoring. They conceded 3 goals against United. Villa scored against them. Fulham scored against them. Leicester scored against them, a couple of goals. So maybe Arsenal can win this, but I just don't feel that they could shut Brentford out. And Brentford, to keep in mind that last season they beat Arsenal by 2-0 in this venue, and they lost by 2-1 in London. So, long story short, I do think that both teams will get on the score sheet. I fancy my chances for both teams to score and over 2.5 goals combo at -102. I just see Arsenal not keeping a clean sheet. No, I'm not sure if they're going to take the win. I'm kind of scared of picking the money line, which is going, the price is going higher and higher by the minute. So I like both teams to score over 2.5 goals at -102. Don't care who wins.
Don't care who wins. I love when Pavlos ends his. That should be your tagline. Don't care who wins, as long as my ticket cashes. And I like that. Nick, I'm going to go to you on this one. It's another one. It's again. I don't think people put enough stock in the fact that when there's a week off between games and you get like a team that hasn't played in 13 games, we tend to see some results that are outside of the norm. Can you see that happening here, or is this a straightforward game for you?
Well, I mean, even if this wasn't a break in action, I think it's not a straightforward game. I think it's a pretty tough game, actually. And I'll go with the side here just so we give the viewers a little different angle to approach it. And, the quick eye test, of course, is going to say, Arsenal, look, they won 5 games. They open up the year. The price is pretty fair on them. So, go ahead and grab those. But we've mentioned it before that United game, their first loss, we definitely all talked about, but who have they played, right? And it certainly showed they finally played somebody good against United, and they got beat 3-1. So perhaps that reality has set in for the Gunners here, and maybe this break actually gives them a little time to prepare again and take the cockiness away. I mean, it's easy, I played a lot of hoops in my day, and it was we got off to fast starts in the season. We got cocky, and what happens when you get cocky? You get smacked in the face real quick. And I'm not saying that's what happened here, but it was probably a wake-up call more than anything to Arsenal, and perhaps that's a little rally point for them to get back to things and perhaps for get a result here at Brentford. But Brentford's not going to be easy. They've been very, very good this year. They have a lot of good results, but similarly, they've had a very weak schedule as well. So the concern I do have for Brentford, though, is on the defense side. And, guys, I always talk about defenses, and I'm scared to do anything when you're looking at bad defenses. Brentford, they're allowing 15.2 shots per game, 5.8 on goal, and 1.42 expected goals allowed. You compare that to Arsenal. Arsenal allows 7.8 shots, 2.8 on goal, and 0.9 expected goals. I mean, not quite half or a little bit more than half on all three of those numbers on the Arsenal side. And I think the strength of schedule for both of these teams has been very, very similar. Both have just been lucky as far as having weaker schedules. So I don't see a major advantage if you're trying to just look at numbers and compare what that looks like. So defensive edge has to go to Arsenal here. I'm thinking that the wake-up call, the smack in the face from United is going to work for them. So I think Arteta will make his adjustments. And right now at minus 125, I think it's okay to take Arsenal. I'm not huge on this. It's not going to be a big thing, but I'll have a couple bucks on the Gunners. I think they should be able to come in here and get a result.
All right, Nick, I like it. And Kev, before I go to you, Pavlos did mention, the game at Zurich, and yeah, that was off of a loss. It wasn't their best lineup that Arteta put out there, and I think it's because he figured he could get a result with bringing in some players from his bench. He didn't bring in until like the last 20 minutes of the game Zinchenko, Odegaard, Saka, Gabriel Jesus. They all came in, and I think the 70th minute of that game. So it wasn't his best lineup out there. We're going to see his best lineup here, especially with the upcoming break. I think all teams are going to have their best 11 out there. I don't think it's one of those condensed schedules, manage your lineup type games. But you've always discussed the Arsenal mentality over the last few years. We've talked about it. This team looks good, and then they hit the road, and we just wait for something to happen to them. Does that something happen this week, or is it all guns forward to continue to win?
I mean, we did 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you're right. We talked about this. Every time you start to trust this Arsenal team, every time, what did I say? Get out the pancake syrup or whatever, because they just do it over and over again. Looking at this Brentford side, Graham Potter and Thomas Frank, to me at least, have proven to be two of the best managers in the EPL over the last few seasons. A large part of that, at least in Frank's case, has been what he's been able to do in the dressing room in terms of, camaraderie with this team. Christian Eriksen was recently interviewed. He was only there for 6 months last season, and he said, it was one of the best dressing rooms he's ever played in. That positive atmosphere that was generated at the club. So I've been extremely impressed with how this Brentford team have started the season. Undefeated at home, obviously, joint second in overall offensive scoring as well. So this line is just way too short for me personally on Arsenal. Brentford have lost just one game at home since last February, so they're an incredibly tough team to beat. And they can make you pay at the other end. Pavlos mentioned the call-up possibly to the English national team for Ivan Toney. They're very quick on the counter-attack. So I like Brentford to get a result in this one. I think the best value on the board is the outright draw plus 275. Gunners obviously more than capable of avoiding defeat here as well. So I don't want to take the Brentford side on its own. So yeah, for me, draw plus 275 is the best value. I wouldn't put anyone off taking Brentford at plus 3/4 of a goal either. But yeah, for me, the straight draw.
All right, guys, those are the three games. Aston Villa, Southampton goes on Friday. Tottenham, Leicester goes on Saturday. And, of course, Brentford and Arsenal that we just discussed, which goes on Sunday. So you've got one for each day that you can take. Our leans will be shown at the end of the show as we sign off, so you can see what we had for those three games. But let's get into our best bets segment of the show, and we will go to Nick first. Nick, what do you got for us?
Well, I love the MLS, and I gave it a free one last night on Atlanta, so I'm going to stick there. This one I'm looking at the Battle of New York. We got FC versus the Red Bulls. 2 months ago, you give me this number, I'm hammering FC. Today, I'm going the opposite way, and, to see a drop in performance from a team with the departure of one player is it's massive. I mean, Valentin Castellanos was moved over to Girona in Spain in July during the transfer window. At that time, New York City were sitting atop the table in East ahead of Philly. They were averaging 2.17 expected goals per game. 10 games now since his departure. They have 1 win, 2 draws, 7 losses. They're averaging 1.13 expected goals per game, over a full goal less. I mean, to have one player have that much of an impact, it's got to be emotional too and psychological. I mean, you got a team that's looking like they're going to make an MLS Cup run to repeat last year, and then what's that message you send to all the players on the team when you send away your striker, your Golden Boot winner from last year, the guy that's going to bring you there. Everybody else has got to feel pretty down on themselves. So it could be a lot of this is mental as well. But Red Bulls, they've been playing well. They had a little mini slump. They had 1 win in 6 games, but since then they've had now 1 loss in their last 6 matches, which did come against the best team in the league in Philly. Otherwise, 4 wins and a draw, averaging 1.23 expected goals, 0.89 allowed. On the season, though, New York Red Bulls, I go back to defense. They lead the entire league. They allow just 9.1 shots, and the second fewest shots on goal at 3.16, and that works to a low 1.19 expected goals allowed. So take the head start, a hotter team, better defense against New York City, who just cannot generate chances right now. So New York Red Bulls plus quarter goal on the MLS on Saturday.
All right. Loving Nick, and yeah, Castellanos. I think he's only got 1 thus far for Girona, but he is always a threat up front for that team, and it's surprising to see how a team drops off, like New York City FC has. But your Philadelphia Union are looking extremely well. I don't know if they have home field throughout the MLS playoffs. Side note here. I don't know who can beat that team because they're looking very good right now. They just keep putting up big numbers against teams. Pavlos, the man who says, I don't care who wins. What do you got for us?
Okay, I have a Bundesliga match for Saturday between Leverkusen and Werder Bremen. Now, Leverkusen, they're coming off a midweek 2-0 win against Atletico Madrid at home, which could serve as a shock to make them, just a bit better, because they've been struggling all season. They're having a really terrible season so far. They're sitting at the penultimate spot of the Bundesliga with 4 points after 6 matches. They have 1 win, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Of course, they've been plagued by injuries this season in the sense that they're missing probably their best player in Florian Wirtz. He's the number 10 guy, the playmaker in this side. He suffered an injury in the final months of last season, and since he's been gone, this Leverkusen side has been struggling a lot. But that's not their only injury concern, because Karim Bellarabi, one of their right wingers, is also out, and he is also one of the players who facilitate. They set up Patrick Schick up front with very good passes, and he turns them into goals. But since both of them are they're missing, this Leverkusen side has been struggling, and not only because of bad offense, but also because of bad defense. So this defense has been really exposed by even worse teams than Werder Bremen this season, and I do expect them to have a tough time against this Werder side, who, yes, they came back to the Bundesliga this season, but they've been scoring a lot. Don't mind that their last 2 matches were unders against Augsburg, where they lost at home because they had a disallowed goal. They scored. They had a lot of chances. They had a missed penalty kick at the end. Then the prior match against Bochum, they scored 2 late goals, but they could have easily conceded a couple. Just take their last 2 results that had 1 and 2 goals respectively with a grain of salt, because prior to that, they had 5 consecutive matches with both teams score and over 2.5 goals. They've kept just 1 clean sheet in the Bundesliga. So far against Bochum, they score multiple goals, they concede multiple goals, they score late goals. So there's only one way to see it, and I'm gonna take both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -125. Don't care who wins.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos with a free play up. Kev, let's go to you next.
We had an easy winner in Ipswich Town on Tuesday night. Carmine as our best bet in English League One. So I'm just going to stick with the English lower leagues for this weekend and take Rotherham plus a full goal on Saturday against Middlesbrough in the English Championship. Rotherham come off a 3-0 loss against Sunderland in their last road game. So I think that's sticking a lot of people's minds here. But prior to that, 12-game unbeaten run across all competitions. They face a Middlesbrough team in must-win territory, it must be said. Chris Wilder under pretty immense pressure right now, level on points with the relegation teams. So I get the urgency for Middlesbrough in this one, but this line's just too high for me. So Rotherham for me on the +1 handicap line against Middlesbrough this weekend in the English Championship. Best bet, +3/4 are starting to pop up now, so make sure and get that +1. But yeah, that's my best bet for this weekend.
All right, Kevin Dolan, and I like the idea that you say price shop. Always have a few out so you can find the best price. Good advice there, Kev. Guys, I'm going to go to Italy, and this is the marquee matchup of the weekend. AC Milan hosting Napoli. And if you watched Stoppage Time before, I've talked about the fact that I love the job that Luca Spalletti is doing for this Napoli team. They are winning games. They are top of the league, tied with AC Milan, of course, but they're beating quality sides. Champions League, a 4-1 win over Liverpool, a win this week against Rangers, a win at Lazio, which is always a tough venue to go to on the road, of course. So they're winning games. They are at Milan at San Siro this week, and you can take the +0.5 goal with Napoli, but I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to take them the outright win. Milan will be without Rafael Leao, who picked up a red card last weekend against Sampdoria, so he won't be in the lineup. Giroud can only win so many games for you, so I'm going to go with Napoli. I'm going to take the outright win at +226 and see if Spalletti and gang can get me the win. So that is my show best bet for you guys. We are off next week as it's a Nations League. We'll be back the following week with Champions League and EPL. But check the WagerTalk TV channel. There'll be some free plays up, I'm sure, from the guys on the show for the Nations League games that go next week. For myself, Nick Borrman, Kevin Dolan, and I don't care who wins, Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo. Good luck with your wagers, and I hope you guys all win.
With week number 1 of the NFL now in the books, we can officially say the 2022 football season is underway. We previously only offered 30-day NFL packages and 30-day college football packages, but because you asked, we have now added a 30-day NFL and college football combo. If you regularly buy the same handicapper week by week, not only will you save money, but more importantly, you will receive the selections immediately once they are released, allowing you to lock in the best available line and beat the line moves. While a 30-day NFL or college football package sells for $149 each, we want to make a splash for the first week of this combo package. Through Sunday, September 18th, get the NFL and college football combo for only $199. Yes, that's 30 days of NFL and 30 days of college football for under $100 per sport. This special is available at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, allowing you to bet football right alongside your favorite handicapper for the next 30 days for only $6.63 per day.